Good morning, and welcome to your morning cereal. Okay, good morning and welcome to Friday. Well, you've made it. It is the day where the coffee just hits a little bit different in the morning. And the meetings, if we're honest, they feel a little optional, right? And we all pretend it's not the first day of the weekend. Well, in addition to it being a Friday, there's plenty to celebrate today because it's National Barbecue Day. That's a big deal down here in Texas. But if your dinner plans don't involve something grilled, smoky, or just slathered in barbecue sauce, maybe it's time to rethink your life. Well, that may be just a little extreme, but here's something else for consideration. It's also National Mimosa Day, right? This might explain why that coworker of yours keeps sending emails with all that extra punctuation, right? Do we really need 3 exclamation marks? And finally, yes, it's Love a Tree Day. So maybe give a little nod or a little fist bump to that oak that you're parked under. Trees. They're kind of like the sharks and alligators of the forest, if you think about it. Well, let's think about today's quote. And today it's from Janet Jackson, who said, quote, "You can't move forward if you're always looking back," end quote. Now, Janet Jackson, she's reminding us that progress requires focus on the future. So channel that energy and step confidently into this day. All right, well, today's news, facts, and birthdays are for May 16th. And we're going to start back in 1929. That's when the first Academy Awards ceremony was held in Hollywood. And it marked the beginning of a long-standing tradition in the film industry. Then we're going to move up to 1975. That's when Junko Tabei, sure I mispronounced that name, but she became the first woman to reach the summit of Mount Everest. And in doing so, she also was breaking barriers in mountaineering. Then the undisputed GOAT, as you all know I hold regularly on this show, Michael Jordan. Well, young Michael, on this date back in 1985, was named the NBA Rookie of the Year. Now, I hope you kept that Fleer rookie card of Michael Jordan's. If you did, you're in the money. I've got a fake one in my office. Well, an all-time great movie, Top Gun. It premiered on this date in 1986. Now, why Top Gun Day was 3 days ago is a whole other story, but great for a family movie night if you don't have plans. And then lastly, in 1991, Queen Elizabeth II, she addressed a joint session of the U.S. Congress, and she was the first British monarch to do so. Okay, here's the top news stories at the time of recording. Okay, we're going to start with the world and politics. Republicans are raising concern now over our president's plane gift, right? Most Democrats have already had issues with it, but now some GOP lawmakers have flagged potential security issues as the president winds up his Middle East trip. And secondarily to this, Ukraine and Russia are likely to meet for the first time in 3 years to discuss peace talks. That's good news. All right, business and finance headlines. Walmart has become the latest retailer to pass through tariff costs to consumers, and they're planning to raise prices this month. And then lastly, in business and finance, the Fed, they've acknowledged that the lower for longer interest rate era is likely over. And then lastly, the Menendez brothers. You remember them, right? Well, they were re-sentenced. Eric and Lyle Menendez, they have been in prison for nearly 35 years now for murdering their parents. Bad idea, kids, in 1989. But they have had their sentences reduced, which now opens the path for parole instead of just spending their lives in prison. All right, well, those are the news headlines as it sits right now as I'm recording this. But happy birthday to you if today is your birthday. You share a birthday with model and actress, and her breakout role was in the Transformers, Megan Fox. She's 39 today. Actress known for her role in Beverly Hills 90210, Tori Spelling, she's 52 today. And then pop icon, Janet Jackson, she's 59 today. And then actor who's best known for his role as James Bond, but I remember first seeing him in Remington Steele in the mid-'80s. Pierce Brosnan, he's 72 today. And then lastly, actor recognized for his tough guy roles. And if you're watching this on YouTube right here, you can see him over my shoulder. You know his face. That's Danny Trejo. He's 81 today. Well, the number one song on this date in 1986 was West End Girls by the Pet Shop Boys. And interestingly, the song was actually released twice, once in 1984, and then again after they re-recorded the song in 1985. And that's when it made its run up to the #1 position in 1986. Here's another odd fact. The song was performed in the closing ceremonies of the 2012 Summer Olympics in London. Now, this is weird because the first 2 lines of the song are, quote, "Sometimes you're better off dead. There's a gun in your hand, it's pointed at your head." So I'm not sure at all that I understand why this particular song was used in the closing ceremonies. I don't know, must be some of that British humor. It's hard to understand at times. Well, on a more positive note, it's Friday, right? And now it's time for our book review segment. So diving into Stephen R. Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, we're still in part 2, chapter 1, focusing today on the subsections of the haves and the bees, and then the other end of the stick. So in the haves and the bees, Covey breaks down a mindset trap that many of us fall into. And it's the belief that effectiveness or happiness comes from external circumstances. We say things like, if only I had more time, or if my boss were more supportive. This have, like I need to have a better supportive boss or more time. This have mindset waits for the world to change before we act. So it places responsibility outside of ourselves. And Covey argues that we should have a shift towards the be mindset, okay? Instead of focusing on what we don't have, we should focus on who we need to become, right? Covey says, quote, "Anytime we think the problem is out there, that thought is the problem," end quote. And the key is recognizing that change starts from the inside out, right? We've been talking about this before. It's not the other way around. So a B mindset sounds like I can be different. I can be a better friend. I can be more diligent. I can be more creative. I can be more positive, or I can be happy. Covey says happiness, like unhappiness, is a proactive choice, end quote. So in the other end of the stick, the next subchapter here, Covey introduces the concept of responsibility as response ability, right? We have the ability to choose our responses. So he describes how we often act as if we're stuck with only one end of life's, let's say, metaphorical stick here, right? The part we don't like. But the truth is, with every decision we make, we're holding both ends of the stick. Quote, "When we pick up one end of the stick, we pick up the other end," end quote. Actions, which are one end of the stick that we pick up, right? They all have a consequence. That's the other end of the stick that we pick up at the same time. Covey explains, quote, "While we are free to choose our actions, we are not free to choose our consequences of those actions," end quote. Now that's powerful, and it's a little bit humbling too. Now, when we fully accept this, we stop blaming others. We start blaming the outside world, and we start owning, right? Undoubtedly, as perfect as we all are, I know, there are times when we make the wrong choices in life. We picked up what turned out to be the wrong stick. And if we could do it all over again, we would do it differently, right? These are mistakes, right? And often in life, we regret these mistakes, okay? So what does Covey say about these mistakes when we make them? He says, quote, "The proactive approach to a mistake is to acknowledge it instantly and correct it and ultimately learn from it," end quote. So this turns a mistake into a success that we can move on from, we can move forward from. However, on the other hand, not to acknowledge a mistake or to correct it is a whole different thing altogether. It starts a person down a dangerous path that is self-deceiving. It's self-justifying, and it leads to rationalization, right? Rational lies to ourselves, to others. This is a second mistake that empowers that first mistake and, quote, "causes far deeper injury to oneself," end quote. Here's the takeaway. You don't need to have more to make progress. You just need to be more of the person that you were built to become. And that starts with ownership. Finally, be aware of your mistakes and how you react to them. If you react with acknowledgement and correction, you take the power away from that mistake. and you empower yourself to move forward positively. All right, nice job today. Hey, that's your Friday morning cereal. So if you're slow cooking your barbecue today, hey, you better get out there and get that coal cooking right now. Thanks for starting your day with us. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll see you back here again on Monday. Have a fantastic day. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to the Morning Cereal podcast on the One Life Live It channel. You can find more episodes and videos by visiting our YouTube channel and the website at Sean Inglis and at SeanInglis.com, where you can also follow our other podcasts, the Mr. and Mrs. Inglis podcast and the Life Happens podcast. In these other podcasts, we'll dive deeper into everyday issues, self-improvement and well-being, business and finance, and we welcome special guests too. So join us. It'll be a good time, I promise. Thanks again for listening. Have a fantastic day, and we'll see you tomorrow.